important for everyone in it, and it's about events management. And I have two lovely friends with me today to do this presentation. So again, my name is Ebony Ramsey. I'm Assistant Dean for Student Involvement, and I will allow my two friends to introduce themselves.
Hi everybody, my name is Betsy Barton. I am in the events office, and I will be working with 12 student organizations. So I have ADC, I have Best Buddies, I have CAB, Connect, Empower, Go Saints, HAPA, IM, LSA, MSG, MUXA, and RHA. So if you guys are with any of those groups, you'll be working with me.
My name is Todd Lewis, and I'm also with the events department. And basically, if Betsy didn't say the group you're with me. So I'll be working with you and helping you with your events coming up next semester.
So this year coming up, we have a new events protocol and process that we are rolling out, all right? You all are gonna be some of the first students to hear about what this new process is, okay? A couple of things. We're sharing this with you all, and bear with us. It's not fully vetted out yet. It's not perfect. There will be some tweaks, and there will be some changes possibly. But we're sharing this with you now so that we can get it to where it needs to be. We've definitely heard you all's concerns, and so the goal is to try to make the process better. Is everybody with us there? We're not trying to make this hard, but we want to make the process better. And we see this as a collaboration, not necessarily an us versus them, but a we concept, okay? So in that spirit, the Center for Student Engagement is going to be now working with the Office of University Events, okay? So that office took form this year, and now we're fleshing out what those details look like so that the Office of University Events can be in collaboration with us all to plan events, okay? So that's what we're gonna be sharing with you all today. We're gonna go over the events protocol that we've come up with, and then we're gonna give you guys a sneak peek on what the process will look like for you to enter your events into the system and the new system that we have, all right? If you have questions, I want you to write them down. That's why we gave you a notepad and a pen, okay? Let us get through this presentation first, write your questions down, and then we'll have a moment to ask questions, all right? But we want to make sure that you hear everything first, write your questions down, and then we'll get to questions at that time. Is that fair? All right, perfect. So we're going to start through the submitting a request first. That's me, my bad. All right, so follow along on the screens here. All right, so the first part of submitting a request is going to be pretty simple. It says right here, requests that do not require any of the following services, okay? So if you have a space request, that you would like to request a space on campus, anywhere, it all goes through this process. Any space on campus that you want to reserve will go through this process, all right? Hear me again. All spaces on campus will go through this process, all right? So if you would like to request a space on campus that does not require any of the following services, it has to be booked in our two platforms, which we'll go through in just a second. We have our platforms called EMS, which is Event Management System. And don't feel like you have to write this down, okay? Because we're gonna make all of this available for you. EMS, and then we're switching from Orgsync to what's called Get Involved MU, all right? So Orgsync's going away, and we have a new platform that we're working on this summer, and it's gonna be called Get Involved MU. So if you don't need any services, if you just want the space, okay? The space has to be as is, and you would have to submit your request no less than 4 business days prior to the date that you are requesting, okay? So if you don't need catering or food waiver, you don't need a contract from any third-party vendor, so you don't need a catering contract, you don't need a DJ contract, you don't need any contract for your event, you don't need a room setup, meaning that if you wanted to reserve DUC Atrium, it comes as is with round tables and chairs at the setup. You don't want to change that setup. You don't need any audio visual support, meaning you don't need a microphone. You don't want to use these screens. You don't need any audio visual support at all. You don't need security. You won't be using MSG funding. You don't need parking. You don't need any vehicle requests. If you just want the space as is, then you need to put in your request no less than 4 business days prior to the date that you are requesting that space, all right? Now, if you do want any of those services, we're asking that you put in your space request no less than 20 business days prior to the date that you need it, all right? Now, there's some distinct differences here that we want you to understand, all right? It is super important that you get your space request in either the 4 business days if you don't need anything for your event, or the 20 business days if you do, okay? And it doesn't mean that you need all of these things, right, that are listed on the screen, but if you even need one of those things, okay? 20 business days before the event, all right? Hold your questions for me, Naomi, thank you, all right? So it's very important that you do that. Now, when you get your request in those 20 business days, it does a lot for us. One, it allows you to meet with your event planner and make sure that everything is done, and it allows you time to get your space request fully vetted the way that it needs to be vetted, okay? So it will go into EMS first, and then it will go into Get Involved in You, and then we will make sure that everything is in order for you to have your event, all right? Naomi?
What's a business day?
Oh, good question. What is a business day? Well, business day means that it does not count weekend days, okay? So Saturdays and Sundays do not count in your 20 business days. Business days are Monday through Friday, all right? So you're gonna count 4 business days from your event date, and that's the deadline, or that's the date that you need to get your space request in by at the latest, right? At the latest. So you're going to count 20 business days from your date of your event or date of your meeting, whatever the case may be. So this is super important. We're trying to make it easy for you that if you're just trying to book a space to have a meeting, right? And you don't need anything, you just want to have a meeting, right? I just want to have a meeting. I don't need to do anything else. You can do that in 4 business days, all right? Prior to your meeting date. But if you need other things, it's very, very, very important that you meet this deadline, okay? All right, so requests that are received less than 20 business days before the date, the requested date may be subject to denial due to inefficient time, space, and or availability. Now, our new system is gonna let you know very quickly if that space is available or not, all right? But if you don't meet our guidelines for the either 4 days or the 20 days, then your event request or your space request may be denied. And that's just because we are growing at a rapid rate here, all right? We have over 130 organizations that are vying for space, all right? So we're telling you this now so that you can plan ahead. Do not wait till the last minute to plan your events, right? This is why we're together now. You can think ahead, project ahead, think about what it is, get it on the calendar. You can always cancel it, and I can talk to you about what the cancellation process looks like. It's easier to cancel, like pull it back, rather than have to add to, all right? Submitting a request. All requests are required to go through the event registration form through Get Involved in You. So we're gonna talk about this a little bit. There's 2 platforms that are new now. So everybody's familiar with R25, right? Through the WAM system, right? So that is going away as well. So we've upgraded both systems. We have the event management system and we have Get Involved in You. So in order for your event to be approved and confirmed, you must obtain approval through the Get Involved platform. So what you'll see is you'll put your event first in through EMS, and you'll get a space confirmation number, all right? And then you'll take that number and you'll put it into Get Involved in You, and then we will vet your event through Get Involved in You. And once you receive that final approval through Get Involved in You, that is when you know that your event is fully confirmed and you are ready to go, all right? Hope you're writing your questions down. All right, Betsy, who can reserve space?
Okay, so the president and the vice president of every organization will get their login credentials for both EMS and Get Involved MU, and that'll happen this summer before you have the deadline to submit your request. for priority, so that will happen once we've got that all coordinated. Again, it's the president and vice president, so if you are able to get into EMS, it's gonna reject you if you're not one of those positions. So you can put it on the information and then it just won't go anywhere, so make sure it's just those two people.
And the reason for that is that we're trying to make sure that we control who's putting in the events, right? So if you have an event chair, say you have an event chair on your board, they can still be the contact person, but there's only the president and the VP from your organization that will have login credentials in order to input events, all right? But they can still put whoever's running the event as the event contact. Does that make sense? Okay, wonderful.
Okay, so our steps to request the space. So first you'll log into EMS, the president or the vice president. You'll enter the space that you want with the time, location, and what the purpose of the event is. Our events team will review that request within 2 business days so that you have an answer for that. So we'll look at things we'll look at is if it's the dining hall, is that an appropriate use of that location? What else is going on campus? Is it a blackout period? Is it during graduation? Something like that. Is it a holiday? For example, if it is on a holiday where the university is closed, or if it's something that's too close to a different holiday, we'll talk about that with you. And then we will review that request, approve it or deny it. When we do approve it, we will get you a confirmation number, and you'll need to enter that into Get Involved MU. So you're not done just because you have that confirmation number from EMS, that your event still is not approved.
So that's super important. Put a star by that when we send you this PowerPoint out, that when you get that confirmation number from EMS, it's just saying that you have the space, right? If you need catering, if you need all those other things, which you will need at one point in time, we have to continue to vet. So that's why it's very important that you understand you have to put the confirmation number in to Get Involved in you, and then you'll finish out your process, and then you'll get a final confirmation email that your event is fully approved.
Okay, so you'll need to enter that request into Get Involved MU, and so that is no less than 4 business days for the no resources and less than 20 business days if you are using the resources. So again, you have to think that through as far as, well, it's not enough to just put it in EMS. It'll have to go through that approval process to get through Get Involved MU.
And the other thing is when you put it in the Get Involved MU, that will get your event on the events calendar. So that's why there's a 2-step process here. If you would like to advertise for your event, write your question down. You need to put it into Get Involved MU, okay? So just putting it into EMS does not get it put on the master calendar, okay?
And then one thing I would like to mention as far as setup, there are default standard setups for each building. However, because of the events calendar, you're not always guaranteed to have that. So even if this is the standard setup for this space, if we don't know that that's what you want, it could be set up differently for another event. So if this is what you want, that does kind of count as setup. So it's one thing if you're using Saints 225 and that'll be used however you want. It doesn't matter how the furniture is configured. It's another thing if you want something specific. And then confirmation and approval may be contingent upon alcohol, if there's animals involved, if there's contracts involved, if you're going to do cash handling or any kind of ticketing system, and then MSG funding, anything like that. So that's where that event isn't fully confirmed yet until we've gone through this process and evaluated all of those things. Okay, so once your event is confirmed and approved by the CSC, you will meet with your assigned event planner no less than 20 business days in advance of the date to discuss all of these services. So once we have that on the calendar, we'll reach out to you. If you haven't heard from us, you can call us, you can email us, you can stop by our office, and we can go through everything. We will see you on the calendar and we'll email you, but sometimes if you guys want to get ahead of the game, we're always welcome and receptive to that.
And I would just like to point out that anytime that you are thinking about planning an event, these 2 folks and ourselves in the CSC are always willing to talk it out with you. Earlier, the better, especially if you've never done an event before. If you're like, I have questions, the later that you wait, the worse that it is because it puts you in a disadvantage. And so we want to make sure that we have everything that you need to make your event go well. So anytime that you want to meet with the event planners, do that. Do not wait until it's 20 business days and you're like, oh, I'm scrambling. Anytime you want to get on their calendar, we're going to share their contact information. Please meet with Betsy and Todd or anyone in the CSC so we can help you plan your event.
So now, once you've had our meeting with us, your event is fully approved and confirmed. You can begin the marketing process, the promotion process, and then your reservation requests ultimately are not final until you've received that confirmation from from the CSE. So again, even though you have that confirmation of the space from EMS, that doesn't mean that your event has been approved.
Okay, are we okay with that? You probably have questions, so that's good, that's good. I saw Miles's hand go up. I'll take a question now before I talk about cancellation.
So I'm just wondering if this is what we're going to be using for the budget requests as well.
That's a great question. So Miles asked, are we going to be using Get Involved MU for budget requests for MSG funding? That would be yes, but we don't have everything ironed out yet. So the budget and treasury team, which is headed up by Mallory. Mallory, raise your hand. Mallory and Dara, raise your hand. Dara. Mallory and Dara will be sending some information out to you later this summer in the form of a video, okay? We're trying to be with the times here, okay? And we're trying to make sure that you guys understand and can, watch those trainings on your own time. So Mallory and Dara are working on some information that will go out to you all later this summer on MSG funding process. Yes? Yes? All of that information will come out when Mallory and Dara give you all that information about MSG funding, okay? It may change a little, but they're still working through some things. Good question. Yes?
So you mentioned that, focusing especially like for club meeting. Can we use, if we look at, like, if you want to have a weekly meeting, like on Tuesday, every, can you just do that all at once? Or try to do it, every way to do it at once?
Very good question. Tell me your name. Isabel asked, can you book reoccurring events, basically, right? Something that happens on Wednesdays at 5 o'clock for the whole semester, right? Absolutely. When we send out the information on how to book events, it will show you how to book reoccurring events. You're only going to be allowed to put in certain amount of dates at a time. So you may have to put in like 3-4 requests to book for something for the whole year because you may be only able to put in like 11 or 12 dates at a time, all right? So you can do a reoccurring event request for the whole year, but you may have to do it multiple times because you only can put in 11 or so dates at a time. Everybody got that? Okay. Scotty? So this is why we're going through this process now, so that you can request your dates early. So you are taking what we're calling a priority registration or priority reservations process. So Scotty asked if an organization can put in their dates early. Yes, that's why we're doing this now. So if you know that your club is meeting at 5 o'clock on Wednesdays for the whole semester, you can request that space right now and get it done and then have your room booked for 5 o'clock on Wednesdays. This is done on a first come, first served basis, all right? So as you get your event requests in, that's how they will be reviewed. Did that answer your question? We're here all summer. So if you would like to come back and meet with your event planners during the summer, I'm sure that there's some time that you can schedule with them. So we work every day of the year, 365, unless it's a holiday. Okay, so we're here. So we would love to meet with you all during the summertime. Get with your advisors of your organization and go ahead and talk about that if you guys would like to meet over the summer to plan. But I'm sure if you reach out to Betsy and or Todd, they can plan some time on the calendar. But this is why we have this retreat now, so that you guys can start thinking about it. If you get it on the calendar now, I'm sure that Betsy and Todd will be reaching out to you anyway. So put it on the put it on the calendar now so that they know to reach out to you so that they can talk to you about it, right? Because if they see it in their queue, they're gonna be like, oh, okay, this is an event that Hopper wants to put on. We need to talk to them. Or this is an event that Go Saints is looking at. We need to go ahead and talk to them because this looks like a large scale event. So great question, Scotty. Any other questions before I move on to cancellation?
What do you do if there's like a case of there's an accident on the page like multiple things are at the same time?
Yeah, so this is the reason why we switched to new systems. The new systems are going to be able to help us to catch that. So in the EMS system, once an event is booked, can't book that space anymore at that same time. So it's not even going to give you that option to see that space is available. Isn't that what we wanted, right? Everybody shake their head and say yes, okay? So if that space is not available at that time, and I'll give you a caveat to this, in EMS, we are also able to put in what we call setup time and breakdown time, right? So if your event starts at 5 o'clock and you let them know you need to set up at 3 o'clock, and then XYZ organization comes in and says, well, we want to use that same space at 3 o'clock, not available. Does that make sense? So that is why we have switched to some newer systems that are a little bit more sophisticated, and because it allows us for you all to know if the space is even available or not, right? Once you go into EMS and you put in your date and your time, it's only going to show you what's available for your date and your time. It's not going to show you anything that's unavailable. So you'll know when you go to input your space request if something is available or not. So then you can take it back to the drawing board and say, guys, we wanted to do Booter at 5 o'clock on Wednesdays, but it's not available. So it'll only show you what's available. Does that make sense? If the event has been approved, it will show you that it's not available. It will only show you what's available. It's only going to show you what's available. So that means that the event has been approved, okay? So if something is not approved, right, then that means that that space is still available, okay? It will only show you what is available. And if it's not available, then that means the event has been approved. Following me? I understand what she's asking, but what did I just say? I want you to know, I want you to follow what I say. It won't show you anything that's not available. Isn't that amazing? You guys are not happy about this. I am. That's why I wanted you to hear it real good. Even if there's no such thing as a pending state anymore. If it's not approved, then that space is up for grabs until it's approved. Does you get me? Does everybody get me? So you can, like another organization can have a request in there. If it's not approved, it's still on a first come, first served basis, right? If it's not approved, then you can still grab it. Does that make sense? Okay? I just want to be very clear because this could get real muddy, right? I want to be real clear, all right? Yeah. Other questions before I move to cancellation? All right, cool. All right. So cancellation of space. So say something comes up and you need to cancel your event, which things happen, right? What we are asking is that if you, as an organization, need to cancel an event, we're asking that you do it no less than 4 business days prior to that event. That helps us to cancel out your catering. That helps us to prevent setups to be happening. That helps us to prevent your organization from getting charges for things that you no longer need, right? If you let us know that you're not gonna have the event anymore, then we can cancel all those things in a timely manner and your organization won't get charged, okay? You're gonna email campus events at Maryville which is up on the screen. And like I said, we'll email this PowerPoint out so you can have it. But you're going to send an email to Campus Events at Maryville 4 business days prior to your event, all right? So if you do not cancel with the 4 business days, you may be subject to some charges, okay? Now there's some caveats to canceling the space or cancellations, which I'll get to in just a second. We ask that you are compliant with all university building policies and procedures at all times. Inappropriate conduct or misuse of a facility may result in suspension and or termination of the right to reserve space. This is really important. So if we find that you are consistently utilizing the space in an inappropriate manner, we'll suspend you, and then you can possibly lose your privileges to request space, okay? So you wanna make sure that you're utilizing the spaces in a just way, all right? The Office of University Events and or the CSE at any time may have to reassign or cancel a space reservation. Now I'm saying this now because there are some unforeseen circumstances that sometimes happen around here, okay? That are above my pay grade, above all of our pay grades, okay? And sometimes we have to reassign space or we may have to cancel an event. If that happens, that is at no charge to your organization. You won't be held responsible, and we'll do our best to work with your organization to make it right, meaning that we may have to change your location, we may have to change your date, all those good things. But just know that this is a last resort option, and it happens because it's unforeseen circumstances, okay? So this is not what we're trying to do. We're not trying to be like, oh, I'm sorry, MSA, we're gonna cancel your event. Or, oh, I'm sorry, Connect, we gotta cancel your event. That's not what it is. Sometimes there are unforeseen circumstances to where events have to be changed or repurposed, all right? Now let's say that there was inclement weather, all right? If there's inclement weather and for some reason we have to close down school, the university is closed, then that also is a time where your organization will not be charged if we have to cancel an event because of inclement weather or if school is actually closed, okay? So just know that if school's closed and you are supposed to have an event, the events team will then reach out to you in order to reschedule and make up for that day, and you won't be charged for catering or anything like that, okay? Cancellations? Just know that the university mission is what we are keeping at the forefront here, and there are special times when we do have to repurpose or we may have to change your date or reschedule, and that's not something that we're trying to do at all. We're trying to make sure that you have a successful event, but at some circumstances there may be times where that happens, and we just ask that you're as respectful as you can, okay? Because a lot of folks get really upset at that point because you're like, this is my event, I care a lot about it, or this is my space, I really want it to go right. If you could just be as calm as possible so that we can work it out and try to make it in the best interest of both parties, okay? Does everybody understand where I'm coming from? All right, cool. So we wanted to go over some common mistakes that happen in event planning that we saw happen this year, okay?
Okay, so one of the things most important, set up a breakout or a breakdown time. So if you have a performer who's scheduled to start performing at 7 o'clock, your event does not start at 7 o'clock. It really needs to start at 6 or 5 if you're planning on doing a sound check, anything like that. So you need to think about that, particularly if you want a specific setup in a room, because there needs to be that turnover time. So if a group is in the room until 6 o'clock, it's gonna take a little bit for the room to turn over. So we do need to build in that setup and the breakdown time so we can make sure that your event goes as perfectly as possible. Not having a rain plan. So if you are planning on having an event outside, obviously we all live in St. Louis, the weather is very unpredictable. So we need to be thinking about if it's gonna be on Commencement Lawn or out here or over there. What is the plan if it rains? Is it canceled? Do we move inside? Is there a location for it to move inside? If there are inflatables that we're going to go outside, what can we do to make them go inside? But thinking through all these things so that day of when we see that it's about to rain, we're not scrambling to find a place or targeting the gym if we need to or doing anything like that. So just thinking about that.
I'd like to add one thing to that too. One of the things that happened this year that kind of threw us off too was like it rained for like a whole day before an event, right? And then the next day it didn't rain at all, but the ground was so wet from the day before that we had to cancel an event because the facility folks were like, the ground is too wet for the inflatable. And then, so we didn't think about that. So try to, sometimes you don't have those conversations. That's stuff that you really you don't think about. You're like, oh, it's not raining right now, but it did rain the whole day before. So if you see rain in the forecast anywhere around your event within 48 hours, you need to be having a conversation with your event planner and your advisor and say, hey, I looked at the forecast, it's raining, is this gonna impact us in any way? Because even asking that one question is gonna help you to mitigate any issues that you may have on the day of your event. And it's okay to ask the question and people be like, you know what, I think we're gonna be okay. But as long as you ask the question and you let somebody know that you put it out there, then that's back on us to make sure that we are helping you to solve that issue. Does that make sense? Okay, just wanted to put that out there.
And then another thing I would add to that is it may seem like we don't need to know those things. If a contract is involved, the contract goes to the CSE, but it does help for us to know that so we can help you guys plan as well, so that we're not heading out and seeing, oh, well, all you requested was an 8-foot table, but all of a sudden there's inflatables over the lawn. There's things that we need to know so that we can all together plan to make the best event here. Another thing is changing your scope of your event. So a lot of times the event will start out as one thing, as a table or a small lunch with a little bit of catering, and then it turns into a huge presentation with AV and a huge setup and catering and all these things that we weren't prepared for, and in the last minute our staff is scrambling, our facilities and our AV and our catering staff are all scrambling to make this happen for you guys. So just thinking about what that event, and that goes down to the underestimating the event too. Just thinking through, what does this look like? Do I really want just a table that I'm gonna have some flyers at and some donuts, or is this turning into a huge thing? So as this event grows out of a bigger scope, it may need to shrink back down as we think this through based upon the availability of our staff. So that goes along with that whole cancellation policy. We want you to have these events, we want you to do them really, really well, but we need to all be on the same page of what that consists of.
And I'd like to add too, the scope of your event is very important. It helps us to decide on if you've chosen the correct location for your event. And I'll give you an example. A lot of folks like to have events in Gander, right? And so every event that is not approved for Gander, it has special circumstances and it goes through a special vetting system. That's why we require that 20 business days. If you want Gander, we need to know exactly what you want to have happen on your event. Not, it starts as one idea and then a week before the event, it's like, oh, all of a sudden, we want to throw water balloons in Gander. That's totally different than what you talked about on 20 business days. Now we're 5 business days out and you want to throw balloons in Gander. And then you show up with a whole bunch of balloons and we're like, I'm sorry, your event is canceled now. So that's what we're talking about. If you change the original plan that you come to us with, that is grounds for your event could be canceled, all right? So whatever the original vision that you have for your event, tell us everything. Go big first, okay? So go big, and then we can kind of talk about what that looks like and make sure we have the appropriate space, we have the appropriate resources to make sure that your event is good, okay?
Another thing, waiting until the last minute or a lack of communication. So a lot of times Todd and I will email and we won't get anything back. And so it's one of those things where no response is a response. So now we're getting to, if it's within those 20 business days and we haven't heard from you and we know you have things, the event may not happen. We need to be scheduling these services. We need to, making sure that the setups and everything is good for you. So it's possible that one, you just get the room and nothing else, no setup, no catering or whatever, or that the event just doesn't happen. So if we're sending you an email and you are not the right contact, which I know often, especially if the president is submitting the request, but someone else on the board is involved, just shoot us an email, just let us know who it is, who our contact will be, and we'll reach out from there.
And we'll know who the event contact is, because that's going to be one of the questions that we ask you in the process. Who is the person that's running the event? Who is the event contact? And that will be on you to share that with us, because we are only requiring the president and the VP to input the events. So make sure you tell us who that person is, so we're not just bugging the president and the VP. We want to bug the person that should be bugged. Okay. All right, so there's a next steps document to help you all to kind of move through this process. I also emailed it to everyone so that you can have the most updated copy, because the copy in your retreat packet, we made one change to. So please make sure if you're sharing your retreat packet with other people in your organization that you give them the most updated checklist that I sent to you about an hour ago, okay? So this checklist is to help you all know what your next steps are once you leave the retreat, all right? So as you can see, what we are doing is we are going to be allowing you all to enter in your event dates early, all right? So we're starting on June the 10th, all right? So we're gonna be sending out some instructions on how to access EMS and Get Involved MU, and it's gonna be in a video format so that you can actually watch us do it and walk through the steps, all right? We're gonna send that out, and you'll have, beginning June the 10th, you are free to enter in your events that you're going to talk about here today at this retreat, all right? On June the 17th, we are going to open up the process again for all student organizations that updated their Orgsync portal by April the 30th. We will then add them into the process and allow them to enter in their dates. What does this mean for you? Make sure you get all your dates in before the 17th, okay? Because once the 17th starts, it's just gonna keep opening up and dates are gonna start getting full, all right? Because as soon as Betsy and Todd start processing and we start processing in the CSC, the dates are gonna start going, okay? So just make sure that you can have your president and your VP ready and have all of your dates ready so that they can enter them in maybe a day or two, and then you're all done. And you got all your dates in for the year, all right? Then by July the 30th, we're asking for you all to apply for MSG funding. So if you have programs where you're needing MSG funding, like I said, Mallory and Dara will have some instructions out to you prior to July so that you all can know how to apply for MSG funding on Get Involved MU. But we're asking that you get those requests in early. The earlier the better, right, Mallory, right, Dara? The earlier the better, so that they can start looking at those requests, and they will start looking at those requests August the 1st. So money goes pretty fast around here, as you can tell. So just don't wait, okay? And I'm sorry, I meant to say I'm following along on the MSG funded events side. So follow with me, please. August the 10th, we're asking that you submit all your contracts through Get Involved MU. So if you need a contract, it's the same process as last year. It'll just be in a different platform. So you'll submit contracts to us either via your event request, or if you need us to do the contract, you'll fill out the contract request form as usual, okay? But we're asking that get all those contracts done. If you know that you have an event coming up in December or September, whenever, get the contract from the person. Let's go ahead and start processing it so that we can make sure that payment is on time. Because if you submit us the contract late, then their payment won't be on time, all right? So try to get us the contract as early as possible, and then we can ensure that the payment is there and secured for you on time. Also, we put in August 15th for events in August and September. Please meet with your designated event planner by August the 15th so that you can make sure everything is secured for all of your August and all of your September dates. Now for non-MSG funded events, you'll see there that's very similar. So June 10th again for retreat participants, June 17th for non-retreat participants that got their portal updated by April 30th, And then, oh, I skipped one, I'm sorry. June 30th is the deadline to submit graphic artist requests. This is important too because we have graphic artists that work through the summer, and if they can get a jump start on working on your project, then they won't be so backed up in August and September. So everything is kind of time sensitive, and you see how it kind of like builds, right? And then for non-funded MSG events, we're asking that by May 31st, you submit your organization budgets to your advisor. And then June 17th, please submit your contracts for processing. And then August the 1st, please meet with your event planners for non-MSG funded events. Now on the second part of this is the change that I made, and this is why I sent it back out to you guys. So we're asking all students, if you are trying to drive a van, you have to do van certification. So if you are interested in doing that, you'll do that through public safety. We're asking that you do that by August the 1st. So you have all summer to get whomever in your organization van certified. You can do that by August the 1st. Update your Get Involved event listing, description, title. So what you'll do when you first enter in your events on Get Involved is you're probably gonna put the bare minimum, right? You're gonna put your date, your time, location. It asks you for a description. It asks you if you have a picture to publicize your event. You can skip all that for now because you probably don't have that. But by August the 1st, you should have something in there, a description of your event. If you want to put a GIF or a meme or a picture up to advertise for your event, we're asking that you do that before August the 1st. But get your events in first, and then you can come back once they've been approved, and you can update all that like cosmetic stuff that will happen and Get Involved in you. And then 3 weeks prior to the event, submit your van requests. There will be a somewhat separate process to submit van requests, which we'll let you know a little bit later. And then 20 business days prior to your event, work with your event planner to set up your facilities, catering, AV needs. And then if you are looking for things on programming on the go, we're just asking for a week's notice there for anything for programming on the go. We're almost done, and then it's time for more questions. So here are some important dates that we want you all to know. So by June the 7th, we are going to be sending out an email to all of you wonderful folks that will have a nice video in it to show you how you log on to EMS and enter in events, and then how you log on to Get Involved in You, all right? Just tuck those videos away, favorite that email, and frequent it as much as you want. We'll also have it bookmarked on Get Involved in You so that you'll know where to go to see it. But that video is going to be super important because it's going to show you step by step how you utilize these two new systems, okay? We have our soft launch of Get Involved in You, which is June 10th. So you guys are kind of beta testing for us, all right? So you all will be some of the very first students that put in events into our system. So just be prepared for little glitches, okay? Don't we love technology? I'm just checking to see if you guys are still with me, okay? So, anywho, so just be prepared for some glitches, all right? Because as much as we want this process to be perfect on the first go-round, I'm sure that there will be mistakes, okay? So that's why I asked for a little grace at the beginning of us talking, because we're all trying to make sure, and we're all learning, and we want to make sure the process goes well. And then, again, June 17th is your deadline, all right? So get as many space requests as you can in the system by the 17th, because on the 17th, we're gonna open it up for those other organizations, and then we're going fully live with Get Involved in You on July 1. So that means anybody, anywhere, can put in an event request after July 1. After July 1, everything is fully open. And then in August, we're going to be doing lots of trainings with all the other student organizations that are not here. We're calling them Genius Bars right now. So kind of like when you go to the Apple Store and you can walk in and get a little help. We're going to be doing that in the CSC. We're going to be doing that in Gander, all over campus so that we can help other student organizations learn how to utilize the system. So we'll be having Genius Bars in August. Now it's time for our favorite part of the program, all right? What questions do you have? So I saw Curtis first, and then we'll just kind of work our way around and we'll answer questions. Curtis.
So if we have our advanced certifications, do we have to like recertify or like redo the certification?
If you are currently band certified, do you have to do it again? Yes.
You also need a valid driver's license,
You also need a valid driver's license
good driving history.
with good driving history. I'm saying this on the microphone because we have a video set up in the back for the folks who aren't here. Everybody wave. Hey, y'all. Okay, that'll be fun for them to see. So we're recording this, and we're doing that this year so that we can make our trainings a lot more accessible for other student organizations, okay? So this will be posted on Get Involved in You so students can always see and get the same information that you guys are getting. Yes?
I know that we have to have certifications done by August 1st, but what's the earliest?
You can go and get band certified probably next week if you like. You just set that up through public safety, see when they're available, and you can go and do it immediately. Miles or Scotty? Okay, Miles? So what Miles asked for our viewing audience is that last year there was a little snafu, that's what I heard, a little snafu with the van requests and they got double booked or lost or whatever. So what we're doing is we have a new process for van requests that will also go through EMS. So once we start down this EMS road, the van request process will be open and you can start to input your van request for next year. And so the new process is in hopes that we don't lose a request, we don't double book things. That's why we got this new program, because it helps us to be a little bit more organized. It's a good question. Yes? I'm not sure that it's virtual. I think you have to drive as a part of the certification. And I'm not trying to be funny, but I think that there's a part that you have to read and I think that you have to drive to. So I don't believe that it's a virtual certification. So that was the question, is the band certification virtual? So I don't believe so. Yes, ma'am. Okay, good. So what she said was there's a video that's sent out, and then there's a form that you have to fill out with your personal information, and then there's possibly an email sent with certification after. No, Abby's saying no. So contact public safety for all of our viewers out there and get yourself band certified. Okay, you like that? Yes. Absolutely, great question. What Emma asks is, when you make a request for an outdoor location, will the form prompt you to request an indoor location? Yes, okay? So we're gonna kind of force you to do some of this thinking for you. And it's not like forcing, but it's just kind of a reminder, like, oh, okay, yes, I am outside. Yes, I do need an indoor location. So yes, we're gonna help to remind you. Yes? So it depends. I can tell you that we were processing contracts for the spring concert for almost 3 months because we have lengthy contracts. So it depends on who you are contracting with. I would say if you have a contract for your event, 20 business days at the minimum, okay? Minimum. All of our business days that we gave you, that's not a maximum, that's a minimum, okay? That means that if you know that you are contracting with someone today, on September. You can put it in as soon as June 10th comes, okay? Put it in June 10th. Don't wait. The object of our conversation here is do not wait, okay? Because the longer that you wait, the longer it takes. And the more that they have to process over in Gander, the longer it takes. So 20 business days at the minimum. We need that contract, okay? And that just helps us out to get him paid on time. Peter?
Remember, if you're gonna pay somebody, right, so if you're vetting a performer, a drum group, a dance group, whatever it may be, and we've not paid that person, there's only two ways we can pay. We either need their social security number, which is by a W-9 form, it's a tax form, or if they run a business, an LLC, right? They should have a federal tax identification number for their business or nonprofit organization. We cannot pay somebody that does not have a federal tax ID or a social security number. We also need a W-9 form. So our office will handle that, but make sure you're notifying us of that when you send in the contract, hey, this individual we have not paid before, or this business we have not used before, right? Or if it's a group that says, hey, my grandmother made the cupcakes for this event, right? Because they're gluten-free, she knows how to do it. We have a food waiver, but we need to make sure that we are paying those people. I would say a minimum of 20 business days to get those contracts in, you all. Get things in writing when you're talking to people about payment, so that you're not shocked if you say, hey, we'll pay you $100, but then we send them a contract, and then that person comes to us and says, well, we were told $150. Get it in writing when you enter that in to get involved in the MU system, and get that in writing in the form of an email to you.
So I want to recap what Peter just said. Object of what he said was, if you are paying someone like a physical check, we need to give them a check, right? They have to give us a W-9 form, which we will inform you of when you alert us that you have a contract, okay? So we have to have a W-9 form. On the W-9, it has to have a social security number or an EIN number, all right? I will let Betsy speak about food waivers, because we did not talk about that yet. But the object of what I heard Peter said is that we need a W-9 form to pay people, to give them a physical check. So if you're trying to give them a check, we have to have a W-9 for tax purposes. Betsy, you want to talk about food waivers?
Okay, so food waivers. So anything that is not catered by Fresh Ideas is going to require a waiver, and that also needs to happen in those 20 business days. And that food does need to come from someplace that does have safe food handling. So it has to come from a grocery store, it has to come from a local restaurant. We do need to have all that information. So instead of a lot of the times it's been, oh, well, we'll figure it out, I'm not sure exactly what we're going to do. We do need to have that restaurant name or whatever grocery store that you're going to within those 20 days, so that we can approve and make sure that everything is on the up and up, and that people aren't going to get sick, that the food is going to be served appropriately, all that good stuff.
We want to make sure that the food is safe. That's really what the point of the food waiver is. So if you're getting food from somewhere, we need it within that 20 business days, and it has to be from an establishment. I saw Miles, and then we'll go to Peter. So Miles' question was, if we have to send a contract to a performer or anyone that doesn't have a contract, will we be able to do that? Yes. Same process, different system. So absolutely. We have a Maryville standard contract. So if you are seeking services from someone and they're like, I don't have a contract, I just can give you an invoice. You can say, that's okay, my school has a contract, I need a W-9 form from you and your invoice. If you can send that to my advisor so that we can get you a contract. Those are the only two things that we need from people that don't have contracts. A W-9 and an invoice. All right, Peter?
To come on that really quick with contract, we do not want to have anybody on our campus that's performing, speaking, talking, engaging with you all that does not have an agreement with us, especially if you're paying, right? That's a protection for your group, but that's also a protection for our institution and for our student organizations and for our department, right? So when someone comes on this campus, one, we want to know who they are. We want all of their contact information, first name, last name, where they live, cell phone number, email, right? Get all of that, because a lot of times when you're inputting that information to push out that contract back, like Miles is saying, we don't have that information, and it takes a few days to track a student leader down to do that, okay? In regards to the food contracts, when you just go into a restaurant, what we would like to see is an itemized, we want to see what you're ordering, right? You can ask the restaurant to do that. A couple of organizations who did exceptionally well, whether it was with a Mediterranean restaurant, and they listed out, hey, we're going to provide olives, salad, dessert. Line item that out so that when they submit that invoice to you, it should either be an invoice or they can type it out in an email that's very specific, right? Salad, kebabs, olives, dessert, what it is, and then also what they're providing in it. Also, you should have the date and time of the event and when you expect delivery, in addition to the itemized cost. Does that make sense?
And we'll have that all on Get Involved in You. You're not going to remember all of that right now. We'll have a little checklist. Is that helpful?
Yes.
A little checklist, because we understand that this is a lot of information. So just know that we're sharing with you all right now in hopes to get your questions, comments, concerns, and then on Get Involved in You, we're going to have some resources there so that it will jog your memory and help you to plan. Does that sound good? Yes. So the food waiver will be on Get Involved in You. So that's the importance of you getting your space, locking it in, and putting your space into Get Involved in You. So the food waiver will be on Get Involved in You, all right?
But that'll be part of a broader conversation with your event planner, so we'll need to know that as well. We'll communicate with Fresh Ideas, we'll send them the paperwork and say this is what's happening, this is what they want, and let you know if you're approved or denied.
Other questions? Okay, how do you guys feel about this? How are we feeling? I want a temperature check. How are we feeling? 72? That's a good temperature. That's like feeling breezy. Yeah, 72? Is that good? 72? Sunny? Sunny and 72?
Yes.
No? No, Cam? Cam's like no. Who else is like no? No? 65, Cam? 65 is better. 65 is better for him. 65? Okay. Yeah, I know this is new. I know this is, something that we're trying out, but know that it is for the betterment of our university and betterment of our planning, okay? There are so many event requests that come into, you would not even understand how many event requests come through, that we have a whole office now that is going to be managing them. So please understand that we're just trying to make the process better. We've definitely heard your concerns, and we're just trying to make sure that the process is smoother and it's better, right? And we want to make sure that we've prepared you enough. So if you take this in, you digest this today, and you have more questions, at any time throughout the retreat, please ask. Betsy and Todd will be around. I'll be around. Any member of the Capitol, when you're trying to kill us, we'll be around. Sorry about that on the video. This is a little game we're playing. Don't worry about that. But we'll be around if you'd like to ask us any questions about the process. But just like I said, if you would help us to be ambassadors and talk to other students about what we're doing, that would be helpful, and gain their feedback. This is what I'd like to call an ongoing process, right? Nothing is, a monument, right? This is a movement. It's not going to be like, this is what it is and it's never changing. That's not what's going to happen. We will make changes as we need to, as we continue to grow, and as it makes sense and it's purposeful, all right? So just know that your feedback is welcomed, and if you have any comments, questions, concerns, we want to hear from you all, especially because you all are student leaders and you will be doing most of the planning, okay? Any last burning questions? Well, looky there. Well, you have the gift of time right now. So we have ended our session. Shayna, can you hit our button? Everybody say bye. Bye.